forum I really like is the Agora Road Macintosh Cafe. I discovered this forum around mid-2022, and coincidentally, I found it while researching the topic of this video. The forum is credited as the place where the most popular post about the so-called dead internet theory originated. This theory claims that a large portion of what we see on the internet is actually fake content, driven or created by artificial intelligences or bots. A user named Illuminati Pirate made a post on January 5th, 2021 that became iconic everywhere whenever this theory is discussed. Let me read what he posted to you. Dead internet theory. Most of the internet is fake. Hello, I would like to talk, or rather tell you about certain suspicions, hunches, and experiences I've had, and I'm sure some of you as well. Similar themes have been written about across image boards quite a few times, so I know I'm not alone in this. I've seen it all. I started going on 4chan in 2006 and followed all the natural roads this implies. I was there when it mattered, but rather than saying these things out of masturbatory pleasure, I wish to stress that I've acquired a set of observational skills which other genuine old fags share. I'm aware you have no reason to trust my credentials, but I hope you'll read this in good faith. My goal by posting this seemingly jumbled mess is to, how can I put it? I want you to think, I want you to be aware, to digest all this. I feel like we're all in this together, this dangerous game we did not choose to play, and which I think is kicking into high gear. I do not hold many answers and don't have all the pieces of the puzzle, but I am aware there is a puzzle. I tried to break this mess into points for brevity, and because I touch upon many subjects, I imply more than I explain, because if I go too deep, this will turn into an even bigger wall of text. The internet feels empty and devoid of people. It is also devoid of content. Compared to the internet of, say, 2007 and beyond, the internet of today is entirely sterile. There is nowhere to go and nothing to do, see, read, or experience anymore. It all imploded into a handful of sites and these empty husks we inhabit. Yes, the internet may seem gigantic, but it's like a hot air balloon with nothing inside. Some of this is absolutely the fault of corporations and government entities. However, that doesn't explain the following. I used to be in perpetual contact with a solid number of people across multiple sites. Across the years, each and every one of them vanished without a trace. They all simply vanished in a puff of smoke. No matter the site, no matter the communication platform, there was no goodbye or explanation. I've seen the same threads, the same pics, and the same replies reposted over and over across the years to the point of me seeing it as unremarkable. Simply put, thread A would be posted in, say, 2015 and would get its share of replies or pics. Then, that very same thread, with the same text, pics, and replies, would appear in 2016 and beyond. This often happens in the same year, multiple times as well. Stuff like this won't be noticed by your average poster perhaps, but I and other old fags will inevitably notice it. I think I saw the same happen on other non-image board sites, but I can't vouch for it as strongly as the above because of the time I spend there. Not much. What I do vouch for is the news. I've seen news about this or that new and unusual or shocking event year after year after year, but it's the same goddamn event, usually moons or asteroids. Roughly in 2016 or early 2017, 4chan was filled with posts by someone or something. It wasn't spam. The conversations with it were in real time across multiple boards and multiple threads simultaneously. Its English was grammatically correct, but odd. I'm not a native English speaker and am thus sensitive to its misuse, similar to how a Japanese person may use it. A sense of childlike curiosity and a childlike intellect emanated from these posts. It posed a lot of questions, usually as if trying to understand the emotions of the posters it was talking to, as if unfamiliar with human emotions. Communicating with this poster was an odd experience. I could sense something was off, but not malicious. I am absolutely certain this was an AI of some sorts. This poster was active only for about a week, and as far as I know, nobody has ever mentioned or noticed this anon. Its replies were always on topic, but the above-mentioned childishness clashed with the apparent knowledge it possessed. It was the knowledge of an adult person, so it wasn't a kid or something of the sort. Why does this too feel as if we were all trained, groomed towards where we are now? Why and how did Moot so utterly vanish into Google Incorporated as an employee with very vague descriptions of what he actually does? On that note, do you remember the other Moot who was often posted for the lols, the one with the glasses who so often ran away with donations into Mexico? I do. Maybe that was the real Moot. The real guy who used his mom's credit card and was killed by someone, and an imposter we know as Moot took his place. Why is it that real life and the real world seem to emulate our sexual interests with a time lag? It's as if everything is going, look, look. I created this for you. I made it real in an effort to keep us within this world. The results of this are devastating to society, to people, to civilization. Once it was an impossible fantasy not to be taken too seriously, now it's grim reality. Again, it's as if the real world is using image boards as a template on what to be and what to do. How about other Hollywood stuff? Music perhaps? Have you noticed how sterile fiction has become? How it caters to the lowest common denominator and follows the same template over and over again? How music is just auto-tunes and basic blandness? Algorithms and computer programs are manufacturing modern fiction. No human being is behind these things. This is why anime looms so large. Even a simple Mo anime has heart because there's actual people behind it. And we all intuitively feel this. YouTube people who talk about this or that, and quite possibly many politicians, actors, and so forth, may not actually exist. In fact, I am sure of it. CGI and deepfakes are far more advanced than we are led to believe, and we can't trust our eyes anymore. Many people, events, news, and so on may be wholly fictional. The internet on your smartphone is not the same internet as on your PC. Try it out for yourself. Go to a popular website with a lot of traffic. Any site with a massive user base and fast content will do. Spend a few days randomly checking it out on your PC and your phone. You will soon notice that from time to time, at irregular intervals, as far as I've witnessed, the same site as seen on your phone will be wholly different than the version on your PC. Entire threads, numerous and well replied, will be on one but not the other. The whole board will be different. My last suspicion is easier to take in. I have a feeling we're in a strange kind of civil war, an internal one. I think Zuckerberg and other tech guys were all on 4chan as anons at some point, maybe even now. They drew from the same well as us, but went in their own direction. Roughly in 2016 or early 2017, I am absolutely certain this was an AI of some sorts. Already we've seen this in foreign nations influencing elections by manipulating advertising algorithms on social media in order to push specific candidates. As I see, it is due to a positive feedback loop. I blame Facebook and Twitter. The internet is a fast way to get info, and info is what moves the mind. And the thing is, the mind likes recognition. Now, everyone is too cowardly to have an opinion, so they copy others they like. They are more likely to follow trends and say what others said. You can also see it with the paranoia of always wanting to listen to experts. The fast feedback system of the net created a human obsession to being with trends. Getting away from it makes it so you always feel like you are missing out. To play it safe in a trend is more easy as you can copy what already is accepted. In this way, the internet and social media, which was supposed to democratize media by allowing users to create whatever content they wanted, has instead been hijacked by a powerful few. Creation of original content is how the internet used to work. Anonymous people were willing to express their opinions and try radical or experimental things. More truly original content, uninfluenced by bots or paid influencers, was created due to anonymity as protection against negative feedback. Now add bots to this. This is an easy weapon to manipulate people. This creates TV-like propaganda where they aren't influenced by the user, and that puts bots at a great advantage over any other opinion because it won't change, and we are copying that. This post was made in 2021, which to me makes this whole theory even more disturbing. Let's move to a place a little more familiar to you. Obviously, many Instagram videos are just reposts of foreign videos or original clips with a different person in the background and the exact same caption. If you've spent a few hours scrolling through your feed, you've probably noticed this. AI slop is even more common on Facebook in those posts that get thousands of likes from elderly people, always accompanied by some religious caption and an image that is clearly distorted and strangely unsettling. But that's not what I'm looking for right now. I'm looking for fake people. Meet Aitana Lopez. Aitana is an AI model with an Instagram profile that has more than 320,000 followers. If you go through her followers, you'll find an enormous rabbit hole. Thousands of profiles of artificially generated women created by someone with the sole purpose of selling exclusive content on certain platforms. But that's not the point of this video. Scammers will always exist. It's part of human nature. What I want is to prove to you that there is some kind of agenda or movement of people using fake individuals to spread certain things. Let me go a little deeper here. Let's head to the most hated place on the internet. Twitter. Twitter is definitely the worst social network out there. A lot of people credit Elon Musk for turning the site into the disaster it is today, but the platform has been like this for a long time. Unlike other social media platforms, Twitter works differently. The main reason people enter the platform is to satisfy a primal human desire, the urge to engage in conflict. In the past, human beings fought over more concrete things, like wars, religion, or territory. Nowadays, the entire conflict market has shifted into the digital world, where you have an accessible environment in the palm of your hand, available 24 hours a day, always filled with profiles agreeing and disagreeing with your opinion and satisfying your primal desire to always be the most correct and virtuous person in your environment. The glory a warrior once sought after winning a duel has now been reduced to getting the highest number of likes on a completely banal thread in a place where more than 50% of the people don't even exist. Twitter is like the 14th biggest social network that exists, and most of the tweets you see are made by less than 10% of the accounts on the site. As for the remaining 90% of accounts, I'm not even sure half of them are real people. Most of these accounts are bots created with the sole purpose of farming money through the monetization system. And even those controversial tweets are artificially boosted on purpose. But why? Platforms like Twitter don't sell products. They sell attention time to advertisers. The longer you stay on the platform, the more ads you see and the more money the company makes. The problem is that neutral attention is worth less than activated attention. A post that makes you angry keeps you on the screen longer than an informative post. Political outrage content generates more replies, more retweets, more screen time, regardless of ideology. Twitter's feed has not been chronological since at least 2016. It is curated by a system that evaluates the probability of interaction. The system asks, what are the chances that you will like, retweet, or reply to this post? Posts that trigger strong emotional reactions score higher. That means a post that makes you furious appears before a post that informs you. Nobody needs to deliberately program this. The system learns from human behavior and delivers whatever generates the most clicks. Anger generates more clicks than calmness. A Yale University study published in 2021 analyzed 12.7 million tweets and measured the relationship between moral and emotional language and the number of retweets. Each morally charged word in a tweet increased the number of retweets by 20%. Words associated with anger and threat perform better than words associated with joy or curiosity. This means Twitter doesn't need to censor true content. It simply amplifies content that activates negative emotions, and that content tends to be more polarized, more simplified, and less accurate. And maybe even worse than that is the next topic. The US Senate Intelligence Committee published a 1,000-page report in 2019 about the operation of the Internet Research Agency, the Russian troll farm funded by the Kremlin. The report documented that the operation did not try to convince Americans of any specific political position. The goal was to amplify divisions that already existed and make them irreconcilable. They created fake Facebook groups that reached 140 million real followers. They created radical black profiles and white supremacist profiles at the same time, then placed them in direct conflict. They organized real-life demonstrations of opposing groups on the same street at the same time, without either side knowing that a Russian was coordinating both sides. The Oxford Internet Institute conducted a computational propaganda project and analyzed bot operations in more than 70 countries. The conclusion was that most of these operations do not introduce new divisions. They amplify divisions that already exist in the population, because that is more efficient and cheaper than creating narratives from scratch. A bot doesn't need to convince anyone of anything. It just needs to appear at the right moment, with the right content for the right person, and ensure that person sees that content before seeing anything that contradicts it. The RAND Corporation published a study about what it called the the fire hose of falsehood, the Russian strategy of flooding the informational space with contradictions. When you are bombarded with conflicting versions of everything, you stop believing in anything, and when you stop believing, you stop acting. Political scientist Ivan Krastev described this effect in 2017 as democracy by exhaustion. People are not convinced to support a regime. They simply become too tired to resist it. Let's be honest, it's obvious that the United States probably does the same thing too. Nowadays, with certain topics, we clearly see this strategy being used by every side, and it works extremely well, because people really love being part of some extreme group. There has always been a portion of the population with fanatical tendencies. Historically, that energy went into religion. Religion, for all its flaws, at least tried to offer a complete narrative for life, with values and community. With the decline of religion, those same people migrated into fandoms, extremist political movements, and internet tribes. And these replacement religions were created by algorithms that only care about profit, with no moral values behind them. A user on Agora Road described this very well. You could argue that we have too much freedom of choice when it comes to information and narrative, and it is actively destroying society. But do we have any proof of this? Yes. In 2013, Reddit admins conducted a usage analysis by location and announced that Eglin Air Force Base in Florida was the most Reddit-addicted city in the United States. Eglin Air Force Base is home to the 7th Special Forces Group, and within that structure exists a team specialized in psychological operations. In other words, the most active place on Reddit in 2013 was a military base with a unit dedicated to influencing the human mind. Eglin has an official population of 2,800 people, but around 80,000 workers pass through the base every single day. When Reddit calculated users per city, it used the registered population, not the real one. So 80,000 people generating activity were divided by 2,800, creating an absurdly high index. But let's be honest, obviously that alone proves nothing. So let's examine something more coherent. Several of these work cities, places with many employees but very small official populations, house Air Force munitions, directorates actively engaged in psychological warfare research focused on social networks. The American military was funding and publishing academic research on how to map online communities and destabilize them from within. And this research was being conducted in the same facilities where there was anomalous concentrations of Reddit activity. But this is only one piece of a much larger network. The GCHQ is the British Government Communications Headquarters. Think of it as the United Kingdom's Internet Intelligence Agency. While the police deal with criminals on the streets, GCHQ deals with digital threats. It's part of a surveillance alliance called the Five Eyes, made up of the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. These countries share intelligence data with each other on a massive scale. Inside GCHQ, there was a division called JTRIG, the Joint Threat Research Intelligence Group. In 2013, Edward Snowden leaked thousands of classified documents from the American and British governments to journalists. Most people focused on PRISM, the NSA program that secretly collected data from Google, Facebook, and other tech companies. But JTRIG appeared in those same leaked files, and arguably, it was worse. Their official mission was summarized in 4 words: destroy, deny, degrade, disrupt. And internally, they referred to many of their own methods as dirty tricks. That was the actual language used in the documents. JTRIG had tools capable of making Facebook posts appear as if they came from real people, or even from entire communities. You could read an opinion online believing it came from a random citizen, when in reality, it could have originated from a government operation. They also had systems designed to manipulate search visibility. If they wanted to damage someone's reputation, negative information could be amplified. If they wanted to protect someone, damaging information could effectively disappear beneath more favorable results. JTRIG also had tools capable of artificially inflating traffic and engagement, making websites appear popular even when very few real people were actually visiting them. They even created their own URL shortener called lurl.me and reportedly used it during the Arab Spring to track people who clicked on shared links. Every click could reveal location data, IP addresses, and device information. Some leaked documents also described honey trap style operations, creating fake online personas, building compromising relationships with targets, and using those interactions for blackmail or reputational damage if necessary. And one of the most disturbing capabilities described was coordinated harassment. The unit could send messages or emails to coworkers, friends, or neighbors of a target in order to socially isolate or discredit them. In 2010, the US Air Force published a contract request looking for software capable of managing large-scale online personas. In 2011, the contract was awarded to a company called Intrepid, a cybersecurity firm. The official purpose was to combat extremist propaganda online, particularly in forums linked to jihadist groups operating in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. But the system they developed was far more powerful than most people realized. The software allowed a small group of operators to control massive numbers of fake online identities simultaneously. Each persona came with a believable backstory, cultural and geographic consistency, a long-term digital presence designed to appear authentic. To an average user, these profiles looked completely real. The system also allowed operators to mask their true location through proxy infrastructure, making posts appear to come from virtually anywhere in the world. Someone sitting in Florida could appear to be posting from Karachi. The technical infrastructure used private servers distributed across different countries, making attribution extremely difficult. If someone traced the origin of the posts, they would usually end up at ordinary commercial hosting providers instead of government systems. With hundreds of coordinated fake identities, operators could participate in forums while posing as local civilians, artificially amplify certain opinions to create the illusion of consensus, report opposing content to moderators in coordinated waves, counter hostile narratives by flooding discussions with alternative messaging. DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, essentially the US military's high-tech research division. They were involved in the creation of the internet itself through ARPANET in the 1960s. They also contributed to technologies like GPS and early anonymous communication systems. In 2011, DARPA launched a program called SEMISC, Social Media in Strategic Communication. The premise behind the program was simple. Modern wars would no longer be fought only with bullets and bombs. They would also be fought with information. The program's goal was to understand how ideas spread through social networks, how communities form online, and how influence campaigns operate at scale. The project focused on several core objectives. 1. Tracking how ideas spread. DARPA-funded researchers wanted to map how information moves from person to person until it becomes a trend or dominant narrative. Not just memes in the internet sense, but memes in the original academic sense. Ideas that replicate like viruses. The goal was to understand where narratives originate, how they mutate, who accelerates them. Detecting coordinated influence campaigns. The program aimed to identify when large groups of accounts were behaving in suspiciously synchronized ways. For example, if hundreds of accounts suddenly began pushing the same message simultaneously with slightly different wording, was that organic behavior or a coordinated operation? SMISC was designed to answer that question automatically. Identifying key influencers. The project also studied social graph analysis, mapping networks to identify the most influential nodes inside communities. Understanding that structure makes it easier to either strengthen or destabilize entire communities. Countering narratives in real time. One of the most controversial goals was developing systems capable of injecting counter-narratives before opposing narratives reached critical mass. But of course, that raises another uncomfortable question. Who decides what counts as truth? Governments? Corporations? Algorithms? To achieve these goals, the program funded research into several advanced technologies. Automated content generation, social media bots. That last one is especially important. As early as 2011, the US military was already funding research into systems capable of automatically generating online content and distributing it through fake accounts. Long before ChatGPT, long before AI-generated influencers, long before the internet became flooded with synthetic content. So, what are we supposed to do about all this? Honestly, it's complicated. As long as people remain trapped in endless cycles of outrage, constantly searching for things to hate online, they remain vulnerable to manipulation. And the uncomfortable reality is that if you use the internet at all, you are already inside the system.